So he's suspended for tonight.
That's right. Victor Pineda will get the start in place of Jermaine Johnson. The rest of the starting lineup remains the same from last week's game against the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. But the name that you look at, number 8, the midfielder Kleberson, 2002 World Cup winner with the Brazilian national team in Japan, South Korea.
For the Scorpions, a lineup they have never boasted before, as the Scorpions you see there for the Indy 11 will switch now over to the home squad, as the San Antonio Scorpions, well, they traded a number 10 and picked up a number 10. Cesar Elizondo replaces Danny Barrera in this lineup.
Head coach John Marcina electing to go with the 4-4-2, and it will be the newcomer Elizondo up front with Thomas Zahorski. Zahorski co-leader on the Scorpions with 4 goals, along with the French striker, Mr. Eric Hasley, who starts tonight on the bench for the Scorpions.
Early foul. The Scorpions will have possession about 30 yards out. When these two teams met in front of better than 10,000 fans cheering on Indianapolis back on May 31st, Billy Forbes collected his first NASL goal. That was in the second half, only for Boerne native. And, of course, Boerne is just north of San Antonio here in Texas. Talking about Blake Smith, he collected his lone goal this year in the NASL, as he is on loan from the Montreal Impact with the Indy 11. So an equalized 1-1 matchup. It was Walter Restrepo that broke the hearts of the fans in Indy, still looking for their first win at home, but denying them even a point and a draw. You see Walter Restrepo there at the bottom of your screen, the 7 on his back in the black and red. He collected that late goal in the 90th minute, able to get the rebound and send it past Neekt and give the Scorpions the 3 points on the road.
Well, it's a different Indy 11 squad here in the fall season of the 2014 NASL season as opposed to the spring. Obviously, the expansion squad, a tough run of it in their first run through the NASL, but they have certainly picked up some momentum. They are currently tied for 3rd in the fall season table, and a victory tonight would push them a long way to getting into the playoff position.
That's the 26-year-old Jamaican Don Smart, a key midfielder for the 11 right now, a bit hobbled, slow to get up, making his way to the halfway line, but still obviously working through some discomfort. He makes the jump this year all the way from the NPSL, where he was a year ago. He's played almost 500 minutes this year. He gave the Indy 11, did Don Smart, the goal winner at Carolina. That's the match that snapped Carolina's 18-match unbeaten streak at Wake Med. That included competition against MLS, USL Pro, friendlies, and, well, a few unfriendlies along the way. Indy 11 with the white kits, the blue shorts, as Indy 11 has picked up its first 2 wins in club history here in this fall season. That opener at Carolina, another one at Edmonton. They're coming off a draw, but not just a draw kit. This Indy 11 side, this is a team that on Wednesday for the first time in club history was shut out, although it was a scoreless draw.
That's right, and a very tough thing. This Indy 11 team used to scoring goals. The Circle City squad has done well on the road, still looking for their first victory there in the friendly confines of Carroll Stadium up in Indianapolis.
They boast 2 of the top 5 goal scorers this 2014 campaign. Of course, you mentioned in second overall in the NASL is Kleberson, while Ambersley, a familiar name to most NASL fans, Mike Ambersley, career really built in Tampa Bay, traded to Minnesota last year. And he has 5 goals in his own right.
We said Ambersley with 5, and obviously Kleberson, 7 goals in 11 matches, a 34-year-old Brazilian, and people who have seen what he's been able to do in his career, both in Brazil. He started off at Atlético Paranaense, moving on to the world-famous Manchester United for a spell, and obviously a time with the Brazilian national team, the World Cup winner, as we said. He is a proven commodity, and we've seen it, as is Rafael Castillo, one of the new additions to the Scorpions.
Yeah, Rafael Castillo missed that loss in Edmonton, north of the border. He and Thomas Zahorski among the starters who did not make that trip, but are back in the starting 11 for Alan Marcina this week. Now, for the Scorpions, a man that they inserted in that match in the second half, Sean Seiko, he was one of the casualties of the trade that sent Danny Barrera to Carolina in return for tonight's starter. Up top in Cesar Elizondo. Sean Seiko, due to the international player limit on these rosters, had to be cut. So he heads back home north of the border. Of course, his wife expecting their child sometime this fall campaign. Josh Saunders making his 3rd consecutive start since arriving in San Antonio. He is on loan from next year's newcomer in the MLS, New York City FC. Of course, they will play in Yankee Stadium for at least the first 3 years. But Saunders, the 2-time MLS Cup champion, getting the start in each of those 2 championship seasons for the LA Galaxy. Is your starter now in a little over his first full week here with the Scorpions.
Yeah, Saunders, fantastic pedigree. He's done a wonderful job in the MLS, as you mentioned, and certainly done a good job early here for the Scorpions. They're lucky to have him in addition to the goalie they have, obviously, Bingham and Volo. So another good goalie between the sticks for Alan Marcino and the Scorpions.
Here's Ambersley. As Forbes will try to strip that ball away, Castillo able to collect.
Ambersley, another one of those Indiana products at IU Hoosier. There are a few of those on this team.
5 Hoosiers in total on this Indy 11 squad, 8 with ties to the state of Indiana. Neek able to squeeze that one in. He was peppered the last time these two teams came together with 8 stops in that loss. Those 8 saves against San Antonio were a season high for Neek. Obviously, you never want your keeper to have to make 8. Saunders back on his line. 11. That time with a prolonged dribble, trying to change his direction was Victor Pineda before losing the ball back to San Antonio.
Yeah, good tackle there in the middle of the park from Minjavar. Richie Minjavar doing a good job. One of the players on this team who's missed some time from international duty as well as injury, but Scorpions glad to have him back in the starting 11 tonight.
Well, you mentioned players with international duties. Victor Pineda, who we were just talking about, missed Wednesday's match as he was with the U.S. U23 club. He is 21 years of age, so that means when the next Olympics comes around, he would still be available for that assignment if his name is called.
Yeah, Pineda, an up-and-coming player for the U21, as you said, and certainly a guy who can make a name for himself. He's already started to do that here in the NASL, and the U.S. national team is taking notice.
He was signed back in mid-June, has played a little over 300 minutes since then, has Pineda. One of the many individuals who grew up nearby, he in the state next door in Illinois. Cesar Elizondo these days wearing the number 10. This is his debut for San Antonio. Of course, swatching numbers and swapping residencies with Danny Barrera. Danny was a newcomer this year along with Richie Minjavar coming over from Atlanta.
Take this opportunity to welcome in the Brickyard Battalion, watching their boys in blue from the Chatham Tap and Fishers, one of the big supporters groups there of the Indy 11 up in Indianapolis, and Indy 11 with the best attendance of any team in the NASL through week 5 of the fall season here in the NASL.
Yeah, Peter Wilt has to be smiling up there. It has been a sensational debut in terms of support from Indiana, cheering on their pro soccer franchise. Of course, the Scorpions just 2 years removed from their debut back in 2012 when they played at a high school football stadium, which is located just behind us, Heroes Stadium. Their debut, 13,000 strong, averaged a little under 10,000 for their entirety of that championship campaign during the regular season. Long outlet pass. Don Smart will collect this one. Duro picks him up out to Ambersley. 20 yards out as they continue to share the ball. Now to Sergio Pena. Ambersley drawing a little extra attention. Janicki. And in the end, it rests at the foot of tonight's captain, Julius James. So Josh Saunders not tested that time by a shot from the Indy 11, making their first ever trip to San Antonio.
Have to like what you see there from Indy 11. Andrew Stone, the right back, getting that started, pushing the ball down the right flank here over to Smart, and Smart able to play that inside. But good defense from the central defenders of the Scorpions, and the new father, Greg Janicki, chief among them, and his son Adrian James, born back in April. And speaking with him previous to this, he said, I'm starting to get a little better, starting to get a little more sleep, but I asked him what he meant by more sleep. He said 5 hours a night is a good night.
This ball from Cleberson, that'll get carried away, and Saunders collects it. Janicki points out, your typical Friday night, he probably gets a little bit more sleep than the average new father, especially on road trips when he's out of town in a hotel. Forbes knocks it down, and anytime Billy Forbes gets contact with that ball, the fans will let you hear about it. Quickly becoming the fan favorite here in San Antonio. And why not? Joined the team late in the spring, immediately paying dividends, and, well, he excites the Scorpions fans the same way that number 8 for Indy able to excite the fans up north as Billy Forbes 3 times Team of the Week, 5 assists this year. That's tops in the NASL. 3 goals to his name, including a game winner.
Yeah, Billy Forbes and Rafael Castillo, newcomers to the Scorpions, but they have made their way into the hearts and minds of the fans. They are both absolutely electric when they are on the ball, and Forbes, one of those guys, every time he gets it, the opposition holds their breath.
Well, Castillo tries to get Restrepo involved early on.
A Colombian connection right there. Rafa Castillo to Walter Restrepo, 2 players who know each other very well. And obviously we talk about the newcomer, the NASL Player of the Month in July, Rafa Castillo. And Castillo's played in Colombia. He's played a few other places, but most interestingly enough, he played for the biggest club in all of Egypt, Al Ahly. And I asked him about his experience playing in Egypt, and he simply said, loco.
10 minutes complete here in San Antonio. Twice this year, Indy 11 has allowed a goal in the opening 10 minutes. That is not the case here this evening, and we do remind you our match clock this season brought to you by Seiko. As the 11 have threatened on a couple of occasions in the opening 10 minutes. Without firing this one from distance, Saunders will touch that one. Probably would not have been on frame, but he'll keep it in play.
Yeah, Saunders does a good job, able to get low to that one quickly. And couldn't tell if that was going to hit the post or go inside, but Saunders taking no chances there.
Saunders, the 6'4" keeper. Restrepo sends it across, nobody home.
Dangerous cross from Restrepo, looking to put that on the head of Zahorsky, but just behind him, Scorpions signaling that they are starting to attack here. Slow first 10 minutes of this one, but they've certainly gotten to the rhythm here in the last minute.
Indy 11 manager Jurgen Sommer, and I think most folks who saw that midweek matchup were very intrigued by the play of the Indy 11 in the opening 45 minutes. In fact, Gunter Kronsteiner, the opposing head coach on Wednesday night for Fort Lauderdale, thought his strikers were very fortunate not to be down multiple goals by the half. It proved to be a 0-0 affair after an hour and a half complete, but Indy 11 controlling the pace early in that one and have had a good showing thus far here.
Okay, Indy showing a lot of tenacity in that game, going down a man, but still attacking, still choosing to push numbers forward.
Ambersley struggling to turn. Forbes through the heart of the field, out wide to Restrepo, another newcomer, one of the first names announced prior to this season. Restrepo, left boot cross again, nobody there to receive it.
Again, another dangerous cross played across the front of goal. Good job from Restrepo, able to shake stone the man in defense.
Neither of these teams on the board their last meeting in the first half. All 3 goals came in the second half. The third, of course, you heard the call from Greg Rakestraw, voice of the Indy 11, as it was Walter Restrepo in that 90th minute. It was back-to-back matches that the Scorpions were able to capture in the 90th minute. And as Greg mentioned in the broadcast and others reiterated later on, 10,000 fans strong, but that was about as quiet as those 10,000 fans have been this year. Restrepo, Elizondo, the newcomer, slips it through to Zahorsky. He trips over the defender's feet. Excellent job, as Neat never really had to make a play on that ball.
And again, Walter Restrepo central to that play. Defense able to take the ball away from Indy 11, played up to Restrepo. Restrepo with a nice little touch inside, but unable to get that to Zahorsky, looking for the shot, but unable to get it off.
That was Jaime Frias who did the sensational job of shutting down Zahorsky. Can he do it again? Right now the ball with Forbes. Zahorsky, Elizondo, and Restrepo in the box. Billy Forbes tries to slip one through, but it'll come up short of that near post.
Well, the Scorpions staff and head coach Alan Marcino have clearly seen something early here in this. It was Forbes who started off on the left wing, Restrepo over on the right, and they have since switched. Restrepo now on the left in front of us.
And every now and then we'll see a defender in Barajo make a run out there on that right wing as well to help out its cause. Jonathan Barajo has been a constant kit, approaching 1,000 minutes this year. Last year in the top Norwegian league, but you and I talk about him so little, and well, if you play defense, that's a good thing more often than not.
You're exactly right. Barajo's one of those guys. He shows up, a lunch pail kind of guy. He shows up to work every single day, works hard, puts in the tackles, never shy from putting in a tackle, and Scorpions lucky to have him along that back line. Look at Janicki, Duro, James, and Just a stout back line for this Scorpions team, and with the new additions of Elizondo up front and Castillo, certainly a potent attack.
Calling for a handball, not going to get it. Elizondo serves it up to Restrepo. Shot stopped by Nick using that right boot, and he'll collect the rebound that comes back at him.
Yeah, Nick didn't even see that shot, did a wonderful job, able to make the reaction save with the left boot, and the kick save able to keep it out. But a tree of players in front of Neek as we watch the replay right here. Restrepo puts it down, and Neek's just able to get the boot to that wonderful reaction save from the goalie for the Indy 11.
It was Andrew Stone, the Green Bay native, who was begging for a stoppage of play just moments prior. As we're back to live action here, ball across the halfway line. And this right now is Pineda. He'll send a cross in, still in the area. And that was a quick one-timer, chance for Cleberson to collect his 8th goal on the season, but it sails high.
That is not who you want that rebound to fall to. Cleberson at the top of the box, the ex-Brazilian international. And he tried to put the side of volley into that one, but as you said, unable to keep it below the crossbar. Saunders with the sigh of relief.
Jose Cleberson Pereira, again, second in the league this year behind Christian Ramirez of Minnesota and his 9 goals. Cleberson most recently with Philadelphia Union in Major League Soccer. 32 caps with his national team. You mentioned that World Cup championship 12 years ago.
He was actually on that 2012 team, coming off the bench in the round of 16, then 23 years old, and actually played. He started the semifinal and the final, assisted the Ronaldo El Fenomeno, for those of you who remember that one. Not Cristiano, the Brazilian Ronaldo, in his 2nd goal in that 2-0 victory over Germany in the final to give Brazil their 4th World Cup title.
Indy 11, with that point on Wednesday, comes into tonight tied for 3rd in the fall standings. Of course, they finished at the bottom of the table in their debut campaign this past spring at 0-4-5, but 2 wins, a draw, and 2 losses thus far. Indy, those wins, both have come on the road. They would love to delight their fans up there at Carroll Stadium on the campus of IUPUI with 3 points at home. But tonight, here at Toyota Stadium, a place that, well, the word fortress is starting to be used, as the Scorpions have fared quite well. You and I have both already mentioned tonight, May 3rd, the last time the Scorpions fell here at home.
Yeah, 5 straight unbeaten matches at Toyota Field for the Scorpions, looking to make it 6 here this evening and starting to show up offensively. Wonderful job counterattacking, and that's certainly what the Scorpions are best at.
Leads to a corner kick. Rafa Castillo will handle that kick. Castillo will address this with his left boot, looking for his first assist on the year. He was your man of the month in the NASL in July. Ambersley and Duro, a couple of veterans in the NASL, and, well, Duro's going to be whistled for that one.
Yeah, Scorpions actually with 3 players on the list to see who would be the NASL player for the month of July, along with Castillo, Billy Forbes, and their goalkeeper David Bingham, and Castillo winning that much deservedly.
You could call him for tailgating there. A little bumper-to-bumper traffic. Neek will address this free kick, about 35 yards off his line. Janicki with his head on it first. It's a Scorpions team that, boy, you could not have written a better beginning for this fall campaign, especially compared to last year, and they had to make a coaching change. The Scorpions, in their first 4 matches, they were 4-0. They had outscored their opposition 9-1. But they go up to FC Edmonton, traditionally a low-scoring club, and they put up 3 up there to the Eddies, to the Scorpions' lone goal. So the Scorpions denied any points in that road trip across the border. Short corner here. This one's sent in and nothing doing. So Scorpions looking to bounce back from their first defeat in NASL play since May 3rd. That was against the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Just their 3rd loss overall in 2014, their first of the fall. Thomas Zahorsky, of course, was a newcomer a year ago during the fall season, and boy, did he have a prodigal campaign. Could do no wrong. Almost led the league in scoring despite only playing half the season. Forbes has Restrepo out wide, and he will dial up number 7. Restrepo traded from Fort Lauderdale this past offseason to Elizondo, the most recent trade acquisition for the Scorpions. So the Indy 11 makes the stop about 25 yards out.
Scorpions coach Alan Marcino, very complimentary of Elizondo, saying he brings great pace, tactical awareness to the game, and he plays the game we like to play it, the way we like to play it. And I said, what does that mean? He goes, he plays fast.
Manhivater out to Restrepo. Restrepo will bend one in, looking for the header, and that one will go wide. Oh, the point of view for so many thousands of Scorpions fans thought that one had gone in.
A huge opportunity goes begging right there, and that was a newcomer, Elizondo, on the end of it. You'll see it right here, and that one almost hitting him in the chin, unable to put that one on the forehead. That one going wide of the far post. Neeked with a huge sigh of relief, and still no score in this one, even though the Scorpions have certainly served notice. They are looking to put the first point on the board.
A brief delay as one Indy 11 player, it appears to be Andrew Stone, just in front of his bench, is being addressed. And now gets just a quick squeeze of water out of the bottle. He's good to go. And let me correct myself. It was Sergio Pena. '11 will have this ball not far removed from that corner flag. Well into their own defensive third, but, well, slowly tiptoeing away and getting closer and closer to midfield. Julius James has been your captain of the Scorpions ever since Adrian Cann has been unavailable for much of this fall campaign. Cann, a part of the now limited Canadian contingency on this roster with the departure of Sean Seiko this past week. Of course, head coach Alan Marcina, a Canadian in his own right. Crocketeers and Bexar County Casuals heard off in the background cheering on the Scorpions. And what is here in this fall campaign, the Scorpions' 6th match, 4 wins, 1 defeat to show for their opening 5 matches this fall. Out wide, Forbes late to close. Ball sneaks inside the 18. Manhivater will just try to send it back in touch. And then we mentioned Manhivater, good to see him back with the Scorpions and healthy. This was after he got banged up against Monterrey in one of those 3 friendlies with Mexican sides during the World Cup break.
Scorpions defense standing strong, doing a good job. You see Forbes dropping back defensively, the right midfielder. That's one of the things about this midfield for the Scorpions. They will play back, they will push forward, but they never forget to take care of their defensive responsibilities.
Opportunity denied by Saunders. Second chance coming up. The cross, the turn, and a little help from some friends. Well, Josh Saunders, fortunate to make friends so quickly in San Antonio, got help from that back line, but also certainly paid some of his own dues using that left and right paw for a pair of stops.
Saunders extremely fortunate right there. Ball bouncing around the 6-yard box, and when that happens, it has the tendency to end up in the back of the net. Scorpions lucky it didn't there.
Best opportunity of the night for the visiting 11. That's the first stop. As we are in the midst of the 24th minute here at Toyota Field. Scorpions back home for the first time since their 2-0 win in a midweek matchup against Carolina. Scorpions played on the road back-to-back matches. Shot fired from distance, Castillo. And he disappointed that that ball continued to climb.
Yeah, tough shot there for Castillo. Had 2 defenders pressing, saw the opportunity to pull the trigger, took the opportunity, but unable to keep that one on frame. So Scorpions so far with more offensive opportunities, but unable to capitalize. Still no score through 24 minutes.
You and I arrived this evening while the locker room was being set up, and you had a chance to take a look at the boots belonging to Castillo, and there is not much room to work with trying to slide your foot into either of those shoes.
Rafa Castillo trying to put his boot into the smallest size he can, a 7.5, and I was absolutely amazed he could fit in there. But as is generally the trend in soccer players, the tighter the boot, the better the fit. Castillo subscribes to that theory.
Nick will simply toss this one out wide. Zahorski would love to pluck that one away and have an easy one-on-one go at the opposing keeper.
Scorpions doing a good job pressuring here, not giving the Indy 11 in the back line a lot of time to make decisions.
Janicki. Again, of course, Greg Janicki, one of the only players on the Scorpions roster this year that were also on that initial 2012 club. He is the only player who's been on the roster all 3 years. Josue Soto, who's available tonight off the bench, is back this season. Soto that first year was on loan from the Dynamo. This year, a contract with the Scorpions. Duro in his second year will send this back to Julius James. The econ major from the University of Connecticut, former Husky.
James, one of those guys off the field, the most mild-mannered, nicest individual you've ever met in your entire life. And as soon as he straps the boots on and hits the pitch, it is like flipping a light switch. He is another man on the field.
Restrepo looking for a quick toss and will settle for Castillo coming his way. Walter Restrepo, the 25-year-old from San Diego, seems like he's been around forever. Had a great career with Fort Lauderdale before being traded to San Antonio this offseason. And that is a foul on the visiting side. Castillo will handle this kick.
Yeah, so impressed with the Scorpions' 1- and 2-touch passing in those tight little windows and triangle passing, as we see Elizondo going down right there. The foul coming from Pineda, or from Pena, excuse me. The Scorpions doing a very good job using the tight spaces, able to get those passes through.
A couple of false starts there for Castillo, but his brake pad's still working. Duro. This is Janicki, one of the 4 defenders, playing well up inside the final 18. Traditionally, if he's going to put one in the back of the net, it's going to be with his head on a set piece. He'll likely allow someone else to do the honors here on the throw-in as he tries to regain some of that defensive real estate.
That's one of the things that make the Scorpions so dangerous, their players' ability to play all over the pitch. Even though Janicki, he's a backline player, he's listed as a defender, he can push forward and not just in set-piece situations.
At times sent in towards the newcomer in Elizondo. Restrepo, heel pass to Castillo. Castillo sends in a cross, and Neek gets a fingertip on it. Goal is vulnerable. Zahorski sends one in.
Beautiful, unselfish play right there. That all started with the back heel from Restrepo to Castillo. Castillo played the ball in, and again, Forbes, unselfish play, finds Zahorski. The absolute epitome of team play, gives the Scorpions a 1-0 lead.
Tomas Zahorski does it again. It's his 5th goal on the season. Will it be his 3rd game winner when it's all said and done tonight? It is still early, but it is great to see that young man healthy and back in the lineup tonight.
Again, unselfish, team-centered play is why the Scorpions have a 1-0 lead here in the 28th minute. Beautiful back heel. Restrepo set it up. Castillo played the ball in. Forbes saw the goalie Neeked on the ground and made the easy pass over to Zahorski, who buried it for the goal.
The moment that goal was scored, Scorpions goalkeeper Josh Saunders, still a newcomer in his own right, went sprinting 50 yards to his bench to talk to his manager about something he saw.
That's one of the things. Saunders back there has a different perspective, gets to see the game from a different viewpoint. Obviously, the last man in defense, and as you said, he clearly saw something and wanted to share that with his coaching staff.
Alan Marcina nodded, and you believe the two of them may think that they see an opportunity to get a second goal here in the near future. Not quite a half hour complete between these two sides. It was scoreless last time these two teams met at halftime up there in Indianapolis. But Tomas Zahorski able to strike and give the Scorpions a lead. It's a Scorpions team that when their opponents score first this year, they have yet to be able to equalize and pull out a victory.
Certainly a good sign for the Scorpions, able to put the first goal of the match on the board. But you got to give credit to everybody on the Scorpions team. The defense able to take it away, put it up through the midfield, and the midfield able to find the strikers who do their job and put it in the back.
So both goalkeepers have had an interesting opportunity to save the day. Saunders came through with those multiple saves about 10 minutes ago. Neek just came up a bit shy that time down.
And he just caught out in no man's land. He went down, tried to make the initial save, and Forbes able to juke him out of the boots right there. And again, Forbes just unselfish play.
Still working with the ball at his feet. Elizondo denied. This will be a throw-in for San Antonio.
It's a great sign from Elizondo. It's what you want to see. He is taken to this team like a fish to water. His first game with the Scorpions, his teammates are finding him, and he's getting shots on goal.
Yeah, he is not shy wearing the new colors. There is Billy Forbes, and pretty soon we're going to have to refer to him as one of the veterans on this squad in terms of tenure. Barajo with the toss. Forbes trying to turn, has that speed, left boot, that one sails just over the top 90.
Oh, absolute firecracker right there, just over the top bar, going for the upper right corner. And Neek seemed to have it covered, but you see the replay right here. Forbes serving notice. Forbes, one of those guys that he likes to get on the board multiple times. He likes the goal and the assist. So far, he has the assist. Now he just needs the goal.
Yeah, if you compare him to an Indy 11 player, again, Mike Ambersley, throughout his career, has been known as a guy who can both finish if you need someone to put some punctuation on a possession, but also can set you up and make you a better player.
Well, speaking of Ambersley, you've got to give the Scorpions even credit. They've done a good job of kind of isolating him. Indy 11 coming out in the 4-5-1, Ambersley the lone man up top, and so far they've been unable to get him the ball in any dangerous situation.
Ball sent out wide. They were looking for Blake Smith, and Smith with guilty of wrapping his arm around Stephen Dureau. Again, Blake Smith has one NASL goal. It was against the Scorpions in that 2-1 loss back in May. Though he has a memorable outing, it was in the U.S. Open Cup against the Dayton Dutch Lions when he had a hat trick in that victory. Part of a nice splash shortly after Montreal sent him on a loan.
Well, you mentioned in the opening minutes, Smith, the native of Boerne, Texas, just up the road here to the northwest a little bit from San Antonio. I actually had the opportunity to speak with him after his warm-ups. Said, Blake, I'm assuming you've got a few friends and family in attendance here this evening. He smiled and said, about 50. I had to ask for an extra ticket allotment.
Yeah, that was well beyond the original allotment given to the players, but you understand why. He brought a state championship to Boerne High School in his first year. Now, Boerne, a growing area, then split into two high schools. He was relocated to Boerne Champion High School for a couple of years, though his coach at Boerne would join him over there as well. But Blake, certainly an impressive career here in this area, playing for David Rogers at the two high schools. But it was on his birthday last January of 2013 that Smith was drafted 8th overall by the Impact. I'm sure his French is improving.
Montreal, an absolutely phenomenal town, and you do not have to speak French to live in Montreal. That cannot be said about the rest of Quebec.
Well, our first card of the night, it will be the yellow variety, although the fans here in attendance were given by a sponsor some red cards whenever they see something that is to their displeasure, but that's Walter Restrepo, who is down right now. And it was Victor Pineda back with Indy 11 this evening who picks up the yellow. This is an 11 side that their past two matches have seen red cards come out, unable to finish with the full 11. The 11 tonight are without Jermaine Johnson, who not only picked up a yellow in that Wednesday draw, but the 34-year-old Jamaican also then picked up a straight red by the end of the match.
Well, Pineda getting the start due to the red suffered, or given last week, I should say, to Jermaine Johnson, obviously suspended from this evening's match because of that. Pineda gets a start, and an inauspicious one it is here as he gets the first card of the match.
So Castillo, who, well, he has worked some magic from about 30 yards out. This one's a bit longer. We'll look to get some teammates involved. Sends one towards the frame, and that header goes high.
Again, another beautiful ball played into the top of the box, the 6-yard box there from Castillo. And the 11 player down on the turf. But Castillo's first goal as a member of the San Antonio Scorpions came off a free kick up there against New York Cosmos. And he served notice with that I am here and I am here to stay.
You see our referee for the evening, Armando Villarreal. He's assisted by officials Tony Obis and John Dearman. Juliana Duncan's our fourth official tonight, but you see the prolonged stoppage.
Cleberson over there lobbying with our head referee, Mr. Villarreal. Cleverson, one of those players that he's seen enough and played enough that when he talks, it carries some weight.
Well, unfortunately for Indy fans, this is the most you have seen of Cleverson on tonight's broadcast. With that said, he's the kind of guy, if you can keep him quiet for 89 and a half minutes, it's not enough. You have to make sure that that final whistle blows before you pat yourself on the back for a job well done against the veteran.
Yeah, phenomenal resume. He's played with Manchester United. He started his career with Atletico Paranaense in Brazil, with Besiktas in Turkey, lastly with the Philadelphia Union of the MLS. And as we said more than once, a 2002 World Cup winner. So a rarity, you get to go up against someone who has been able to hold the cup as a champion here in the NASL.
So Chris Estridge will step off the pitch for a moment. Estridge, again, one of the 8 players from the state of Indiana, former Rochester Rhino. There's a little pipeline from the Rhinos, USL Pro side, here to Indy 11. And dealing with the youthful USA representative. Ball in touch, back over to the home club.
Yeah, good defense there from the captain, Julius James. Again, James, one of those multifaceted players. He can come up, he can play in the midfield, he can even come up and attack if you need him to, but such a wonderful defender. That's certainly where he does his best work.
Indy 11, a sensational addition to the North American Soccer League this year, and obviously it's a fan base that has done their part as we try to acclimate them to the 3-year history now of the Scorpions. It is a Scorpions team that, boy, were they on fire. Their first ever campaign in 2012, they had the best season, regular season by far, only to come up short in the postseason, in which Tampa Bay would go on to win the title that year. Restrepo, little give and go, and probably close to a flag coming up had a Scorpion found that ball at right at their feet. But
Absolutely.
in the end, Scorpions right now sitting on the 1-goal advantage.
Yeah, fantastic 1- and 2-touch passing from the Scorpions. Little tiki-taka right there, and you see it. The result is a corner. Castillo stepping up to take it. But the midfield of the Scorpions right now taking control of this game.
NASL Player of the Month in July, Castillo, the Colombian, sends one up top, and it'll drift away. And the Scorpions, Barajo, the defender, collects. And Julius James, the defender, playing within 6 yards of the goal right now. And this is a little more aggressive, even, if it's possible to say as much, for this back line for San Antonio.
Yeah, you can't say enough about this Scorpions team. Their back line pressing forward, and those midfielders, Forbes, Castillo, Restrepo, and Menivar, just doing a fantastic job offensively.
Third corner of the half now for Castillo in San Antonio. There's a drive towards that back post. Header's on, header's in.
Phenomenal work right there. Castillo puts it right on the melon of James, and all James has to do is bury it. He goes 5-hole right between the legs of Neeks. Neeks unable to come up with the save, and San Antonio doubles their lead up 2-0.
It is the first goal as a San Antonio Scorpion for Julius James, the captain, able to collect.
And a well-deserved goal right there from the captain, the central defender. And James doesn't get forward a lot, but when he does, he makes the most of it. Perfect example right there. He's had an assist, and now he gets his first goal of the season as a Scorpion.
Former member of the Columbus Crew, the pride of TNT, just able to elevate among those 3 defenders and gets the sweet touch. Scorpions lead 2-0 here in this opening half.
Yeah, beautiful right there. Does textbook job heading that one. Rises above the defender, heads it at the goal line, and Neeks, unable to come up with the save, concedes his second in 39 minutes.
Again, mindful that we do have quite a few folks up north tuning in, cheering on the Indy 11. San Antonio established its rights to an NASL side in 2010. Gordon Hartman is the owner of this franchise. Across the street, every now and then on a wide shot, you will see an amusement park, a theme park. It is Morgan's Wonderland, unique because it allows individuals, children in the special needs community to interact with all other kids their ages, really without any intrusions. It's a very inclusive community inspired by Gordon Hartman's daughter, Morgan. And Soccer for a Cause is the umbrella for all of this. Every bit of net profit, which last year exceeded $650,000 made by the Scorpions, goes directly on a big giant check across the street to Morgan's Wonderland and the special needs community.
As you said, and that's the most impressive thing about the Scorpions, is not the product that they put out on the field, even though it's an amazing product and a phenomenal soccer team. It's what they do for the community off the field, including Morgan's Wonderland and Soccer for a Cause, that truly makes this a special club.
Gordon Hartman financed this stadium without the need of using public funds in San Antonio. There are also 14 laser finished soccer pitches off in the distance here in this abandoned quarry that are used for all the youth leagues throughout town. As Stone will have the throw in here. Indy 11 looking to cut the deficit in half.
5 minutes plus stoppage time remaining in the first half. And Indy, if they want to get back into this one, they need to get a goal before half.
Chance to turn from 20 yards. It sails wide, and it will ultimately go with a goal kick for Saunders.
An opportunity right there, just as I said that, in Pineda spinning and trying to keep that one on frame, unable to. Saunders appeared to have it covered as we take a look at the replay, and beautiful job right there. Saunders was up to the task as that one rolled wide of the near post.
It looked like if Pineda had been able to put that one just inside the post, that Saunders was not going to be able to get there in time. Instead, the score remains 2-0, and a foul against Julius James will send the ball into that center circle to Pineda and the 11. Scorpions finished third in the spring standings. Of course, that a 9-match season. Here, the 18-match season in the fall. The Scorpions are atop the standings, though when you look at the cumulative standings, a point back of Minnesota. That one in and out of the fingertips, fills out of Nick, but no harm done.
Elizondo with the shot again, and the newcomer, the ex-Costa Rican international, 10 caps for the Ticos, the surprise of this year's World Cup. A very proud Tico is Elizondo, but Elizondo never shy to shoot. Takes another one right there.
You may have noticed that Christian Nicht is the man who wears the captain's armband for the 11. He was one of the first names announced for this new franchise. He is the only member of Indy that has played every minute this season. The Scorpions are down to just one man who's played every minute, and that is Greg Janicki. It had been he and Durow on that back line before Durow missed the last outing. Scorpions have had 4 different men back in frame, Josh Saunders being the 4th of those, and so obviously none of them can claim the full Ironman performance this year. Low drive from Saunders, that aided by the wind. Flicked on by Elizondo, but right back to the 11. And you look at the size that Sergio Pena has at 6'1" in midfield. You contrast that to Castillo, and perhaps that's why this is the tallest that Pena has looked in his career. Durow will take a nudge, and the foul called. It's back over to San Antonio for the throw-in.
Yeah, heady play right there from Durow, the veteran defender from Jamaica. Felt Smith bearing down on him right there, and maybe went down a bit.
I said throw-in. Obviously, after the foul, a kick here, and it will be handled by Saunders.
Certainly the start that the Scorpions and head coach John Marcino wanted. Speaking with him, he said, we have to get out to a good start. He realized what happened last week up at Edmonton, their first road loss of the season, how important it was to get the victory here tonight.
Zahorski sends it towards the near post. Could not squeeze it in for the brace here in this opening half.
Zahorski already with the goal, now leads the Scorpions with 5 goals on the season, 1 ahead of his teammate Eric Hasley. Starts tonight on the bench. But you saw the replay right there. Nick does a good job, able to get low to the near post in time to make the save.
You know, with the addition of Elizondo up top for the Scorpions, that means you have names like Teray and Hasley available off the bench. And, of course, another newcomer in Trevin Cesar, who's been brilliant in his few appearances with the Scorpions. Castillo tripped up. It will stay with San Antonio following the whistle. Scorpions mindful, limited time left here in this opening half. Officially 1 minute. We do expect a few minutes due to injuries in the first 45. Restrepo, touch into Castillo. Castillo will serve one up and just unable to turn was Elizondo, still looking to collect his first goal. Duro. Scorpions have to get back on side. They do. And Steven Duro, the Jamaican, does some dancing.
And Duro getting in on the action. He wants to come up and does a good job here going up against Stone, able to keep possession.
Dizzying moves from Duro and almost an assist for his efforts. Elizondo has brought out several oohs and ahs in his debut.
Scorpions fans have certainly been treated to a show here through the first 44 minutes and change of the first half, up 2-0, and they've certainly been the team with the majority of the chances offensively.
A healthy Menjivar to Castillo. Great to see that tandem together and healthy. We're told just 1 minute of stoppage time as Elizondo sends that one to Tom. So 1 minute to go until half. We'll have a chance to speak with each manager during the half. Obviously, Alan Marcino will be pleased with the adjustment following the first loss this fall up in Edmonton. While Indy, they did not score back on Wednesday. They've still scored a goal in every weekend match they've ever played in their history, but Wednesday a different story. We approach the final seconds here.
You see a replay there of Janicki going over the back and slow to get up as the ex-Michigan State Spartan. But back on his feet, as you said, the Iron Man of the Scorpions, the only man who's played every minute here in 2014. Number 12, Greg Janicki, the new father.
Castillo with perhaps the final quality opportunity for either side, and we get the whistle. We'll see whether that's a delay on Castillo, and I saw his time in Portland with the Timbers, Major League Soccer. It appears he's coming in for Andrew Stone. So that is a midfielder for a defender. Again, Stone, the 23-year-old out of Green Bay, done for the day after 45 minutes in his start tonight.
Well, head coach Jürgen Sommer started off Indy 11 at the 4-5-1 here this evening. Ambersley up front by himself, and he has been out on an island. Give a lot of credit to the Scorpions defense for able to keep him so isolated. So it appears that they're going to look to get more help, put more bodies in the middle of the park, and see if they can get it up to obviously Ambersley and Pineda, the guys up front, along with the Texan Blake Smith, and the name for Indy 11, the one and only, the Brazilian, Cleberson.
Brad Ring is a familiar name in the starting lineup for the most part for Indy 11, though he missed Wednesday's match with a red card suspension. A little over 900 minutes to his career with the Indy 11. There you see Ambersley as well as Pineda. As Indy will look to strike early, try to collect their first goal of the night, their first goal since last weekend, and try to cut this deficit in half.
The first 10-15 minutes of the second half, very important for both teams, but especially for the 11 trailing 2-0. They need to attack, they need to push forward, and hopefully for them and their fans, put a goal on the board to cut the Scorpions' lead in half.
Brad Ring will handle the toss across the way. Brad had the NASL Play of the Week back in Week 7, a sensational goal. It's also Team of the Week that week, one of the 5 Indiana Hoosiers who compete on this roster.
A lot of local talent in Indiana, and obviously anyone who's watched NCAA Division I men's soccer knows that, looking at the Indiana Hoosiers and their tradition there. A lot of that tradition started by the Indy 11 head coach, current head coach Jürgen Sommer, when he was the head coach of the Hoosiers.
Yeah, if you're Indy 11 or if you're the Carolina Railhawks with the college programs in their backyard, it's not exactly pandering to try to bring fans out by signing some of those players, but those are some powerhouses with legitimate talent. Shot denied. As this is Barajo, who's having to inch back with the pressure, but they survive. Josh Saunders will simply have a goal kick.
Very impressive first half for the Scorpions, and again, only 45 minutes and still another 45, a little less than that to play here to complete this one. But Scorpions playing unselfish, playing team-oriented soccer, finding the open man, finding the back of the net, and giving themselves a 2-0 lead.
But how different could those 45 minutes have played out if Josh Saunders doesn't make the back-to-back saves on his line. It would have put Indy up 1-0 on San Antonio. Zahorski at his feet into Restrepo. Restrepo will overrun the ball as this ball stays in play. Barajo will allow it to drift in touch, quickly sends it back in. As Restrepo staying onside, Zahorski will be called for the foul.
Well, you mentioned it moments ago, and really the only difference in the first half was the play of the man between the sticks. Saunders able to make those back-to-back saves early on to keep it a 0-0 game, and unfortunately nicked. Able to make the initial save and played it right to Forbes. Forbes plays that one right over to Zahorski for the first goal of the game.
You saw the foul. Zahorski immediately reaching out his hand.
Indianapolis, trying to take the quick restart there, and that ball put over the head of Saunders as Saunders puts his hand up in frustration. Obviously, the goal will not count.
Again, Armando Villarreal is our center official here tonight, our referee. His crew, Tony Obis, John Dearmond, and at the desk, Juliana Duncan. It's from 60 yards out, sneaks in, flag stayed down, shot fired from Ambersley. Did not have a chance.
A very, very difficult attempt right there from Ambersley. Tried to play the full volley and unable to keep that one under the crossbar. So far, Indy 11 haven't had a lot of opportunities and obviously unable to capitalize on the ones they have had.
The Scorpions began this year back in the spring with the two keepers, David Bingham on a season-long loan from San Jose, and Jeremy Volo, who again thought he had retired a little over a year ago after his stint with the Red Bulls up there in New York. As he looked to pursue the ministry, Tim Hankinson, then the head coach of the Scorpions, talked him into juggling both his studies in the ministry but also continuing his soccer career down here. Josh Saunders joined this team a couple weeks back. That's after Daryl Sattler actually got the very first start of the fall season, a familiar name in these parts for the Scorpions, before returning back to Florida.
Yeah, Saunders a lot of MLS experience, obviously a previous Cup winner with the LA Galaxy, and you can see that on the back line. Does a good job of keeping players organized, keeping guys where they need to be.
But it's been a revolving door ultimately this fall back between the pipes. Neekt has been the constant, though, for Indy 11. And a foul on San Antonio will, well, this looked like Neekt was going to come up and handle the kick, but they quickly send it back in play.
Yeah, Pena taken down right there. Scorpions fans audibly unhappy with the call against their home team in the black and red. But a good call there from our head official.
Cleberson drawing the attention of 3 Scorpions. Quickly a toss in from Kyle Highland. He, the pride of IUPUI, gets to play his pro ball on his pitch. Saunders goes flying to his right and does not have to get a fingertip on it.
Now, big save right there. Saunders able to get.
I say that they will say he did touch it, and it'll be a corner coming up.
Yeah, that ball put on frame and a big shot coming from the outside from Pena. As we took a look at the replay, Pena time in a room, and Saunders. Can't tell if he got a finger on that or if that was deflected on its way to goal, but either way, corner kick the result.
Looking to pull within 1. Pineda up top. To the pink boots of Blake Smith. And this will be another corner for Indy 11.
DeRoe does a smart thing. Excuse me, DeRue, and my apologies to Steven and his family. I've been mispronouncing his name the vast majority of the season, even in the last season. It is Steven DeRue, not DeRoe. And DeRue does a wonderful job right there, heading that away, conceding the corner, but the best in a situation of bad opportunities.
52nd minute underway. Ball still loose in the area, and it is DeRue who gets on top of it, sends it across the halfway line, and nice job finally able to clear. So Scorpions have survived some scary moments, though. DeRue right now slow to get up. We talk about Steven DeRue, the 30-year-old Jamaican, went to Prince George College. He has been close to an Ironman for the Scorpions, missing just 1 match. This is his 2nd campaign with San Antonio. battled a broken foot much of last season. Still exceptional play. Has seen time with a couple of other NASL clubs over the years, including when he was a teammate of Alan Marcina with what was then for Minnesota the Thunder back in 2008.
Yeah, Drew, one of those guys easy to underestimate. Not the biggest, doesn't look the strongest, but he is one of the fastest, highest jumpers, and more than anything, he plays with tenacity every single time he gets on the field, and that's all you can really ask for.
So an over the head of the South Texas native Blake Smith. There are actually 2 Texans on the roster for Indy 11, one of whom did not make the trip. We mentioned obviously the one closest to home tonight is Blake Smith. Grew up about 15 minutes away in Bernie, where he did win that state title before going on to New Mexico and becoming a Lobo. But another young man from just north of Austin, about an hour and a half north of here is the city of Pflugerville, and at Hendrickson High School is where we saw a couple of Okiomas star, and it's Pajero Okioma, who is on the Indy 11 squad, though a head laceration when he collided with one of his own teammates, Eric Morales, who suffered a concussion. Both of them out, unavailable tonight.
Well, earlier we mentioned the talent in Indiana, obviously, as well in North Carolina, but some very good soccer here in the Lone Star State as well. We've seen that tonight.
And Okioma's brother played in Austin for the Aztecs, the USL Pro side. The first USL Pro side is what has more recently been a PDL club, has announced that next year they will move up to the 3rd division. And a familiar name, and Paul Dalglish will be taking back over the reins for that professional club in Austin.
And Paul Dalglish, the 2013 USL PDL Championship Coach of the Year with the Aztecs last year. He's currently with the Real Salt Lake of the MLS, an assistant coach there, but he will make his way back to Austin for the 2015 USL PDL season with the Aztecs.
Ambersley trying to initiate something there in midfield. He's frustrated that others did not have the same vision as he looked for a little give and go, and then ultimately you imagine they were looking for the long outlet pass to Blake Smith. Smith, we noted, has 1 NASL goal in less than half a season with this team. It was against these Scorpions in that 2-1 loss, an equalizer at the time, back on May 31st. His best outing by far with the Indy 11, we noted the hat trick against the Dayton Dutch Lions. There's Smith, again, your midfielder, but almost everybody on the field right now is a midfielder for Indy 11.
We got to give San Antonio a lot of credit, especially defensively, able to weather this initial storm from Indy 11 here in the first minutes of the second half.
Walter Restrepo put a little English on that pass. Back out to Restrepo. Touch from Menjivar. Flag is up offside, and Restrepo will not have a chance to collect the 3rd goal of the night.
Offsides was the call incorrectly, but fantastic play right there between Menjivar and Restrepo. Great give and go, one-touch passing, and that's what the Scorpions have been doing all night. That is what has made them successful and given them a 2-0 lead.
56th minute underway. Our match clock brought to you by Seiko, official timekeeper this season of the North American Soccer League. Pineda will turn back to his back line. Janicki right up the middle to Castillo. And if you can have Castillo or Menjivar in that center circle with the ball, you'll take it just about any time with their creative abilities. And a straight red across the way. San Antonio will be down a man, and it, I believe for a 3rd time this year, is Julius James.
Now you saw the captain right there sliding in. Studs up was the call from our official, Armando Villarreal. And the straight red issue, James trying to argue his case, but to no avail. So James, and as you said, what would be for the 3rd time this season, getting a straight red. As we take a look at the replay here, ball played back, James in pursuit. And sliding in right there, the ball played away, and a tough call right there. But the referee electing to give the straight red, and that will be it for James.
And you wonder now, Indy, who for the first time after the last 2 matches played down a man, all of a sudden find themselves up a man. And you see the explanation there from Armando Villarreal, the referee. What he saw was an open foot, studs up. James thought he led with his toes, studs down. You'll get another look here.
Yeah, James goes in. You can see the right boot right there. Ring played the ball before he was getting there. Ring a bit theatrical possibly, but either way, the red card, and the Scorpions will be playing 10 men for the remaining 33 minutes and change of this one.
Well, so now you wonder, Julius James, who collected the second goal of the night, whether that second goal will prove to be just enough to help the Scorpions hang on this evening.
Yeah, James sliding in. You could see his right boot catching the right boot there of King, and King goes down and makes the most of that tackle. Excuse me, Ring, my apologies. Brad Ring, the substitute who came on at halftime for Andrew Stone, as James comes off. Scorpions fans unhappy with that call.
So Julius James is off the pitch. Josue Soto appears that he'll be headed into the match in a moment for another Scorpion starter. And Julius James heads back to the locker room. So Scorpions are up 2 goals, but they are down a man.
Well, this changes the complexion of the remainder of this match completely. As you said, Scorpions with the 2-0 lead, down a man, and we'll see if they drop into a shell defensively, try and just weather the 30 minutes of this one and get away with the victory, or if they can continue to keep some players forward and continue to press offensively.
I would speculate that Soto, the midfielder, will be coming in for one of the strikers for San Antonio. Either Zahorsky or the newcomer Elizondo. Cleberson, still hoping to be heard from by the end of tonight. If not just once, perhaps twice. Ball at the feet of Kyle Highland. We mentioned the former Jaguar of IUPUI, former member of the Columbus Crew, a team that Julius James has also competed for. And the booing you're hearing every time Brad Ring touches the ball, you see it a lot in basketball. And tonight, well, some Spurs fans have made their way out.
Yeah, Scorpions fans thinking that Ring a bit theatrical there, making the best of that tackle from James. But either way, Scorpions will be playing a man down. James will not see the pitch this evening.
Pineda tries to slip it into 5th gear, instead Castillo. Scorpions, everything pushing forward, even numbers.
Opportunity here in the counterattack for San Antonio.
Zahorsky down the middle, 18 yards out. Restrepo, Forbes, right down the middle, and that ball too tall.
Forbes again saw the space, took the opportunity, unable to keep it under the crossbar. No trouble for Neat. As we take a look at the replay here, Forbes has the first assist of the game to Zahorsky, looking to put a goal in his column as well.
So it allows Josue Soto to come into the match, and predictably it is for one of the strikers, specifically Cesar Elizondo. Elizondo in his debut, now complete. A little under an hour played for Elizondo, and it's safe to say he impressed.
Very much so. Elizondo pushing forward, an offensive force through the first 60 minutes of this one. A lot of opportunities in the first half. He took those opportunities, unable to get a goal. But either way, impressive first start for Elizondo. But a good substitution for Marcina, putting the midfielder Soto in, putting a bit more bodies in the middle of the park.
Highland tucked in that corner. And we had a whistle while that ball was in the air, and it will be a goal kick coming up. So Scorpions fans continue to boo Brad Ring. You think they'd like Indianapolis a little bit more after getting Kawhi Leonard from them a couple years ago?
I think the Scorpions fans have long forgotten that. They now consider Kawhi 100% a San Antonio Spur. Take this opportunity to welcome in the Brickyard Battalion BYB, rooting on their boys in blue up there at the Chatham Tap in Fishers. One of the many watch parties going on. And
you say many, it's hard to find a place that can seat 10,000.
It really is, and that's one of the most impressive things about Indy 11 is not just their home field attendance when they're there at Carroll Stadium, but the support they give these guys on the road. There are watch parties not just in Indianapolis, but all across the state of Indiana.
Barajo, the defender, across the halfway line, back to his fellow defender in Janicki. They were looking for Castillo. Indy 11, we noted with that point from the draw on Wednesday, are tied for 3rd in the NASL fall standings. 2 wins, a draw, and 2 losses. They are hoping for a point by the end of this evening. And if they're going to get it, it's going to be aided in the fact that they are up a man. We'll see if they can take advantage.
Scorpions making the substitution after the straight red card to James just moments ago, bringing off the newcomer Elizondo, bringing on Josue Soto, a familiar face here in Texas. Played a lot for the Dynamo, played his college ball up at SMU in Dallas.
One of the 2 Texans on the San Antonio roster, just like Indy has a pair of Lone Star State natives. 20 yards after a little jaunt here. They'll give it up and they'll go wide. Simply a goal kick for Josh Saunders, who's back in frame for a 3rd straight match for San Antonio.
A miscommunication right there for the Indy 11. Ball played back to Cleberson. Cleberson thought he was going to play that onto a runner into the box, but no one is there, and harmlessly over the end line for a goal kick.
Well, when you're an expansion side like Indy 11 is, as they in Ottawa joined the fold this year, there's a lot of firsts. Now, Wednesday was the first time they were shut out at home. They've still never been shut out on the road, and they hope tonight is not the first time that that occurs. Soto sends a header right back over to Indy 11 at midfield. And the fans have not forgotten about Ring. Ring was not the one who showed the card to Julius James.
Well, unfortunately, our head referee, Mr. Armando Villarreal, doesn't get a lot of touches on the ball, so fans don't have a lot of chances to tell him how they feel, but they can certainly tell Ring.
Here's Forbes pushing forward. He has Duro, Zahorsky, and the Restrepo ahead of him. You know, we talk about 50-50 balls that are up for grabs, but even if it's 80 20 Billy Forbes, it's a 50-50 ball.
Yeah, Forbes absolutely just the pace of a sprinter out there, and to be able to keep that pace while with the ball is just remarkable. You can see him just slaloming through the defense there of Indy 11 moments ago. 1, 2, 3 defenders, and finally stopped by the 4th.
Menjivar, who was an Ironman back in the spring until his national team came calling for him to play in a couple of friendlies, including against Spain, as well as the Ivory Coast. Menjivar, Los Angeles native, but playing for the El Salvador national team.
Head coach John Marcina said, we're disappointed that we're going to miss him, but you get the opportunity to play at against what was at the time the reigning World Cup champions, the Spanish national team, and the Ivory Coast, 2 teams that were soon to take part in this previous World Cup. You give that player that opportunity, that's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Jurgen Summers now going to make his 2nd substitution of the match. He will insert Pedro Mendez, the 24-year-old out of Brazil. And he'll come in for a young man with a very bright future, Victor Pineda, the only individual on an NASL roster who was called up for that U23 USA team.
As we said, Pineda got the start tonight for Indy 11. Jermaine Jones with the red card in their last match, suspended for tonight. Pineda making the most of it, a good 65 minutes.
Ambersley just outnumbered and growing frustrated in the penalty area.
We mentioned in the first half, Ambersley's been left all alone up front. Hasn't gotten a lot of service, and he hasn't gotten a lot of help, and frustration starting to show from number 15.
Lobbed in, and, well, a scary moment there. But ultimately it goes wide, and it is just a corner kick for Indy 11 as opposed to an own goal.
Yeah, miscommunication there. Shades of last week, and that goal against FC Edmonton.
Another brilliant pass, but Saunders able to take it in. Castillo goes on a run. Restrepo going in the wrong way.
Yeah, Castillo and Restrepo, they've never played together before their time here in San Antonio, but they certainly have a connection.
Yeah, Kyle Highland took exception to something that was certainly far from intentional. Restrepo continued to play a ball, and it found its way to Highland's chest. And if you're Indy, now's not the time to waste time on that clock with some spats.
You got to be careful here. You do not want cards. You see Saunders trying to keep Castillo back. Castillo now taking exception to something being said. Castillo initially was the man with the cooler head, but Castillo certainly heated up. And Castillo and Cleberson, who have known each other, they have played against each other. Cleberson is a member of the Brazilian national team. Castillo is a member of the Colombian national team. They're exchanging some words here.
All of this, you would presume, is to the benefit of San Antonio. Josh Saunders will handle the kick outside of the penalty area.
As you said, Scorpions very happy to watch precious seconds tick off the clock here, especially with the 2-0 lead. Even though they're down a man, they certainly have the advantage. And it's Indy who needs to worry about the time and corral their players.
This one into the wind off the foot of Saunders. Restrepo able to keep the ball alive, but not for long. Making that run for Indy a moment ago was Don Smart, the midfielder. And from the sound of things, Brad Ring has the ball in his possession.
Ring has certainly not made any friends here in San Antonio this evening. If you missed it, Ring, the recipient of the tackle from Julius James about 15 minutes ago. James given the straight red card, and the result, the Scorpions a man down for the remainder of the match.
And of course, another result will be that Julius James will not get to use his passport for what is the final trip to Canada this year. Scorpions head to Ottawa next weekend. Cross, and Steven Daru may have just saved the day, at least on that possession.
Oh, fantastic work there from Daru. He was there, ball played in at the top of the 6-yard box, waiting for the head of an Indy 11 member, waiting to put that in the back of the net, I should say. But at the last moment, Daru there able to clear it out of harm's way.
Indy has had some opportunities, but each time either that gentleman, Saunders, or in the yellow kit, or one of his defenders have come up big.
Time starting to become an issue here for Indy 11, trailing 2-0 and just over 20 minutes remaining.
Zahorski eyes this one. Well, if you get your finger out, you'll count 11 men in white and 10 in black and red, but the way the match has unfolded here since the ejection of Julius James has been fairly even.
I think you're exactly right. James's ejection has evened up this match. Scorpions certainly the better team through the first 45, and the scoreline at half reflected that, up 2-0. And who knows, those 2 goals could be very important if Indy can get a second one and cut the lead in half.
Indy knew this was not going to be an easy 8 days. San Antonio tonight, then at Minnesota next weekend. Those are your top 2 teams, not just this fall, but for the cumulative 2014 season.
We talked about this Indy 11 team, an expansion side of the NLS here in 2014. A very tough introduction to the league in the spring season, but they have certainly picked it up in the fall.
Mendez, the former Silverback. Castillo patiently looking for an opportunity, spots one.
Beautiful work right there from Castillo.
Zahorski does not pull the trigger, instead out wide. Still an opportunity for Forbes. 1-on-1. And Billy Forbes, it's rare to see him taking off the ball, but that time, tremendous defense to keep this at a 2-goal deficit.
Yeah, fantastic one-on-one defense there from Highland. Highland able to dispossess Forbes of the ball, and that's a rarity that you can take the ball from Forbes in a one-on-one situation.
Well, Highland is legitimately having struggles getting to his feet. He twice tried to get up. It appeared to be the right arm, and you see that arm hanging right now.
Yeah, Highland in obvious pain right there. As you said, the right arm unable to do anything. And you don't want to speculate, but certainly the way that looks, he could have taken a knock, possibly even dislocated it and found its way back in.
Jurgen Sommer has one substitution available to him if needed. Although Highland able to raise his right arm there to wipe his brow, and they go right to him. A good sign for Indy. The 11 need 2 goals in 19 minutes. Cleverson out wide. On the feet of Smith.
Wonderful work right there. Forbes, the midfielder, dropping back and playing defense. Not known for his defense, but able to take it away from Smith.
Restrepo has the familiar Zahorski and Forbes ahead of him. Restrepo just sends some hopes and prayers the way of the frame, but off the mark.
That ball just mishit by Restrepo. But again, Walter Restrepo, certainly in my opinion, the best player so far for the Scorpions, is Ring down on the pitch. Here's it from the Scorpions faithful.
Yeah, Brad Ring has been in this match a little over 20 minutes.
We've got to wonder if heat is starting to affect this Indy 11 squad. Obviously very warm today here in South Central Texas. Temperature just below the 100-degree mark at kickoff. It has since cooled down to a balmy 92 degrees, but certainly not the weather this Indy 11 team is used to.
We'll try to get another look here, and you see he is cramping up, and he did not play the first half. He checked in right at the start of the second half. A little too much fun on the Riverwalk. Indy 11 arrived in town yesterday, and I inquired whether the Smith family had them over for dinner, but no, they went to the Riverwalk before heading to their hotel.
Hats off right there to Walter Restrepo, a class act on and off the pitch for the Scorpions. The Colombian just showing why he's such a great player, assisting a ring off along with the trainer for the Indy 11. And obviously not something that Restrepo has to do, but just showing the kind of player he is, a consummate professional.
Last couple of years, member of the Strikers in Fort Lauderdale. Speaking of the Strikers, of course, that's the new home and the old home of Walter Ramirez. Ramirez, who played the spring season with Indy 11 and played the past 2 years with San Antonio, will never actually make a trip to San Antonio this year. This was going to be it. He joins the Strikers, who have already made their 2 trips to San Antonio, so we will not get to see that former Scorpion. We will see, though, the final substitution for Jurgen Summers' Indy 11 as Dylan Mayers checks in. He out of Zionsville, Indiana. A couple of former Zionsville Eagles on this squad, and he would go on to be a Hoosier, predictably. His high school teammate, A.J. Corrado, also on this Indy 11 side.
As you said, Indy 11 now having made their 3rd and final substitution. A ring who came on at half for Stone being subbed off moments ago. Scorpions still with 2 substitutions left in this one, but playing down a man after the straight red to Julius James.
Julius James and Brad Ring, they come off the pitch in the second half, completely different circumstances. Saunders thought he was going to be challenged, opted not to collect that ball, instead punches it 25 yards out. A little over 15 minutes remaining tonight. 11 still have not been able to get close to the top of the hill. Still down by a pair of goals.
San Antonio down a man as they have been the majority of the second half, but you certainly wouldn't know it by the play. It has been even since James was sent off with their straight red. Indy 11 has had their chances, but much like in the first half, they've been unable to capitalize.
Goals from Tomas Zahorski as well as Julius James tonight have the Scorpions looking to get what would be their 5th victory in 6 tries this season. Talking about the fall campaign.
Billy Forbes again playing back defensively. He understands his team is down a man and that he's going to have to do things he traditionally doesn't. And he cannot say enough about the Turks and Caicos International number 8, Billy Forbes, in black and red.
He has the assist on what at the moment would be the game winner. Cleberson trying to send one through, but did not have a chance and may have found a teammate's boot about 17 yards out.
Cleberson, obviously the name for this Indy 11 team, the 34-year-old Brazilian international. He's from Uruguay, Brazil. He's played all over, started his career at Atlético Paranaense at 19, played for Manchester United. He's played for Beşiktaş in the Turkish Super League. But so far, the Scorpions have done a very good job of keeping him from being an impact tonight.
Josh Saunders will wait while Sani Toure will check in as the 2nd substitution tonight for Alan Marcina. Toure comes on for Zahorski. So both goal scorers are now done for the night for San Antonio. And you are not losing much bringing in Toure. Zahorski gets a breather. You have the fresh legs of number 20 in the red and black, the 24-year-old Gambian.
An impressive substitution from Alan Marcina as he shows his hand here. His team up 2-0 and just under 15 minutes remaining in regulation. He could have brought on another midfielder or defender and tried to pack the box, but instead he brings on another attacker in the form of the Gambian Sani Toure, showing that we're up 2-0 and down a man, but we're still going to press.
Toure with 2 goals on the year, has played a little over 600 minutes in this cumulative season in 2014. They've actually been relying on him a little bit more as a starter at the top of Alan Marcina's offense. He's been rotating, of course, with Eric Hasley, among other forwards on and off the bench. In the absence of Thomas Zahorski, good to see Zahorski, though, healthy.
Well, Toure not only having to worry about playing time injuries and the like, but a few weeks ago having to worry about playing during the month of Ramadan as an observant Muslim. He was fasting observing Ramadan. He said he did not on game days. It wouldn't have been possible for him to play. But every other day, he was not eating or drinking from sunup to sundown.
Yeah, I believe that ended July 28th, ending a 1-month period. Just a fantastic athlete, well-conditioned, who's been doing it most of his life. And here is Touré's first touch, out to Forbes. They'll put the neon boots to some use. Crocketeers and their drums, along with Bexar County Casuals right now at a slow tempo, hoping to erupt in a moment.
Can't forget El Veneno, the Spanish language fan group, supporters group of the Scorpions, along with the Crocketeers and the Bexar County Casuals.
Highland begging for the ball in front of the Scorpions bench on the near touchline. It'll never make its way to number 18, instead over the right side. Highland still begging for the ball. Now they finally send it forward as it's on the foot. Sergio Pena. Castillo. And the Scorpions not just killing time, but able to gain some real estate.
Phenomenal
Restrepo winning the foot race. Restrepo inside the area has it plucked cleanly off his feet by Highland.
What a defensive play from Highland right there, able to take it away from Restrepo moments before he was going to take the shot. But that opportunity all came from Castillo again. Rafa Castillo, just phenomenal job in the middle of the park, able to take it, slow things down, and find the rushing Restrepo down the pitch.
Castillo guilty of the foul there, the victim Dylan Mars. They work it back in play. Cleberson, 35 yards out. Soto, another second half addition to this evening's match. Former SMU Mustang and Houston Dynamo. Touré surrounded by 3 of the 11. And he's wise. He does not need to surrender that ball. Scorpions don't mind possession right now.
Yeah, Touré looking for the give and go right there with Forbes. An unselfish play from Touré. So he didn't have numbers, held things up, waited for help to come.
Indy 11 with 11 minutes to mount a comeback. In this 11-on-10 matchup, the Scorpions un hombre menos after Julius James sent off near the beginning of the second half. Touré, along with Restrepo and Forbes. Highland turned. Restrepo has an opening and would love to have that one again.
Yeah, Restrepo, that one just coming off the foot. Not the way he had intended. That one going wide up the near post. As you take a look here, Restrepo, ball on the right foot, and he plays that one. The spin just pushing it wide up the near post. No trouble there for Neeked in goal.
It was a 2-1 finish when these two teams met on the final day of May. That was the first trip up to Indianapolis for the Scorpions. They will travel to Indianapolis once more for this fall season. Indy is not scheduled to return in San Antonio unless it's in the postseason.
Yeah, good work right there from Soto, conceding the corner, but not allowing that ball to be played across the face of goal. And now with less than 10 minutes remaining in regulation, Indy really has to start putting bodies forward. And when you do that, that leaves space at the back in the counterattack.
But a great opportunity right here. Cleberson with the corner. See if this ball has a chance. It does. 7 yards out. Janicki the first to it. And a goal kick coming up for San Antonio. So opportunity lost for Indy 11 to get on the board and pull within 1.
Now the local product right there, Blake Smith, looking to put a left boot into that on the volley and unable to keep that one down. No trouble for Saunders.
Indy 11 has used all 3 of its substitutions. Scorpions are about to do the same. Alan Marcina will be inserting. You know, I keep using the word newcomer, but after a while, you got to establish who's been here more than a month. Trevin Cesar from Trinidad and Tobago will be the final addition for the Scorpions, and it looks like he's coming in for Restrepo.
Yeah, Restrepo gets a much-deserved break. 82 minutes. And the player of the game through the 82 for me, in my opinion, for the Scorpions. He's done a phenomenal job. He and Castillo have certainly linked up well together. The two Colombians, they have a great relationship in the middle of the park. But Restrepo, every single time he's gotten the ball, he has been dangerous with it, pressing forward, making things happen.
Trevin Cesar has played about 150 minutes since joining the Scorpions, just in time for the fall season. and he continues the trend of having played in every match. That's, I should say, with the exception of he did not make the trip up to Edmonton. That match against Edmonton proved to be the only match this entire fall campaign that the Scorpions did not collect 3 points. They have not had a draw yet this fall, and Indy is still 2 goals shy of forcing that first draw. And they're looking at being shut out back-to-back matches, believe it or not.
Something that Indy has not seen at all this season. We talked about the expansion club new to the NASL in 2014 and a very difficult spring, but they've picked it up in the fall, actually tied for 3rd place currently in the NASL fall standings. But a little time remaining in this one if they're going to try and steal a point from the Scorpions, who lead 2-0.
We're led to believe right now about 2 minutes of stoppage time would be the number. That could very much change in the next 7 minutes or so. Cesar. Forbes, a little touch back to Castillo. He wants a closer look, 22 yards out. And again, if he doesn't like the shot, he's not going to take it, and a card is coming out. It's a yellow, and it is issued towards Dylan Mayers.
Yeah, that is well-deserved right there. Just frustration. Castillo dancing around Mayers. Mayers unable to do anything about it at all, and the result, he frustratedly pushes the Colombian, conceding a dangerous free kick right here. And Castillo's going to take it himself. We know what Castillo can do with the ball right here. So we take a look at the replay. Castillo ball push up, and Mayers just pure frustration, unable to control his emotions, and the result, a yellow.
Rafa Castillo, that time being the bigger man. This is where he is so dangerous. This is how he introduced himself to the fans in New York, with a shot from just about this distance, though on the right wing, this from the left wing. We'll see what he can do with that left boot. Don't look for him to share this ball. Shot fired on the frame. It's wide. Was it deflected? It was not. A goal kick coming up for Neekt.
Neekt lucky right there. That ball not on frame. You could see Castillo unhappy with himself. He thought he hit that one perfectly. But again, a rare opportunity missed in a dangerous position on a free kick from Rafael Castillo.
Again, mind you, the Scorpions are playing with 1 fewer individual out there on the pitch here in this second half. And Josh Saunders' job back there in frame has not really increased when it comes to level of difficulty.
I think that's probably the most surprising thing of the second half, after Julius James of the Scorpions was given the straight red card, that Indy has not been able to take advantage of their man up.
Flag stayed down for that pass from Cleberson. Still an opportunity here for the 11 to get on the board. Finally out of the area looking for Toure. Second half substitution along with Forbes to make it Cesar on that far line.
Oh, beautiful work from Cesar around 2 defenders, and they're going to say that ball trickled out of bounds. Cesar disagrees. Cesar, another one of the Caribbean players, adding to the contingent of Caribbean players on this 2014 Scorpion squad. Last year, a contingent of players from the Balkans. This year, they've shifted a little closer to home.
Slightly fewer languages to learn, to talk to your teammates out there on the pitch. Scorpions right now are poised to remain in first place here in the fall, battling with Minnesota for that top cumulative spot. In the end, though, that's more for bragging rights. Minnesota has already locked up one of the playoff spots by virtue of having the best 9-match record back in the spring, when the Scorpions finished 3rd behind New York. New York and Carolina, if the season ended today, would be your other 2 teams in the postseason. Remember, that's a New York team that in the entire spring just allowed 3 goals and yet couldn't win the table. Cross over to that far bar, does not get within 10 yards, and Cleberson just cannot pull the trigger quickly enough before Toure spoils that opportunity.
A lot of credit to the Scorpions, midfielder and forwards coming back, dropping back to play defense. Toure doing it right there. Forbes, he's been doing it. He has been doing it all night, I should say. Number 8 listed as a left wing, left midfielder, but he's certainly playing defense tonight.
Mendez will earn a corner kick for Indy. Josh Saunders directing traffic. You can be a great goalkeeper, but if you don't know the four guys in front of you very well, that has quite the impact, and he's certainly getting more and more comfortable taking charge of a veteran back line. Scorpions defense in place, and Indy can stay right where they are. They've earned another corner.
Now you talk about Saunders and his back line, very similar to a quarterback in his offensive line in football. The relationship that those gentlemen have, one of the most important relationships on the field.
And I believe we technically had 2 balls on the field when that kick was taken, and another corner for Indy. Will the third time be the charm here? Numbers rush forward. Scorpions can't clear just yet. Highland, 25 yards out. Sends one into the backside of Menjivar. And Smith can't conquer that wall.
Again, fantastic defending from San Antonio. They are ready. They know they're down a man, and everyone is chipping in on that back line.
You see Indy with their urgency, every pass that much quicker in terms of the release off the toes. As we approach the final 2 minutes of scheduled time here in the second half, looks like we're going to be closer to 5 minutes of stoppage time.
That's still early here in the fall season, the 6th game of the fall campaign. The San Antonio team, they've gotten 12 points out of a possible 15 through 5 games. And as I said, it's still early, but a very important game for both of these teams. San Antonio looking to secure the fall championship. And Indianapolis currently tied for 3rd, looking to fight for a place in the playoffs.
Indy right now is tied with the Silverbacks at 7 points here in the fall. Minnesota has 10 points, the Scorpions 12 coming into today. We have not had a chance to take a peek around the league as all other NASL action is now complete. This was the final match to get underway. Josh Saunders, though, looking for his 2nd win in 3 matches as your man between the posts for San Antonio. About a week and a half's work. Scorpions don't mind just possessing, and they are exceptional at that. At this point for the Scorpions, it is a long fall season still ahead of them, but I don't know where your weak spot is. You talk about a defense that on most nights is going to give you Barajo, Janicki, James, Duro, or when Adrian Can, the captain, is back, you insert him for one of those 4. In the midfield right now, the reason why you could trade Danny Barrera was Rafa Castillo along with Billy Forbes, Menjivar, and of course Walter Restrepo. Scorpions are hoping that loss at Edmonton was simply an aberration on this fall schedule. And here is Billy Forbes quickly closing ground. He'll get help from Barajo. Cross is sent in. 90 minutes complete, and it is official. No fewer than 5 minutes will be added of stoppage time. Nate inside the 18 collects.
Yeah, just such an impressive array of talent in the midfield and up front for the Scorpions. You look at who they started, the newcomer Elizondo, Zahorsky, Castillo, Menjivar, Restrepo, and Forbes in the midfield, and just absolute abundance of riches and talent for San Antonio and Alan Marcina.
This is Cesar tripped up from behind, and that will draw the whistle and a yellow. As that yellow is introduced to Chris Estridge for the visitors. Their 3rd 11 on the night, their 3rd yellow on the night.
Well, moments ago we mentioned the starting midfield and forwards for the Scorpions. You look at who comes off the bench: Soto, Toure, and Cesar, guys who are arguably starters for a lot of teams in this league, and that's the talent and the depth of talent that San Antonio has.
Scorpions right now just have 9 men on